Supportive living came to be, like a lot of organizations, is when a tragedy happens in one's family. And in this particular case, it was my son who received a traumatic brain injury at the age of 17. He was beginning to think about college. He wanted to be a pilot. And at the end of his junior year, we got that phone call that every parent dreads. Your son has been in an automobile accident, and please come to the emergency room as soon as possible. Scott was in a coma for 9.5 months, a long 9.5 months. And he did regain consciousness, but it left him with permanent brain damage.
I picked Teddy up in North Andover on January 6th, 1986. And coming down 125, we hit black ice, went across the road. The last thing that Teddy said to me was that he decided where he was going to apply to college, and it was going to be Harvard, Princeton, and Stanford, because he wanted to be near a major city. And 10 seconds later, he was in a Class 1 coma. That's how quickly you can be brought into this world.
We realized that what's going to happen to Scott? Where is he going to live? And there's nothing out there. His choices were an institution, a nursing home, or at home with eventually aging parents that would not be able to take care of him.
Each individual in head injury is different. It depends on where your accident occurred, what part of your brain, and so on and so forth as to what your deficits are. And that makes each one an individual unto himself. And that by itself dictates an individual response in terms of a long-term living condition.
They're so individual and so different that you couldn't put out a picture of, you know, this is what somebody with brain injury looks like, this is what they present as, because they present so differently. So the need to have something that can look at them individually and look at their needs individually is extremely important.
For many of the folks that live with us both here at McLaughlin and at Warren House, many of them came from very restrictive kinds of institutions. Literally, some of them were locked institutions. And that's not because these are individuals that can't be in the community. It's because they had certain needs for support, for their own self-care and for support. And there isn't a lot of models out there to provide that kind of care.
McLaughlin House is a place that people with brain injury can become more independent, and that they also have the necessary assistance on the pieces that they can't do for themselves.
Warren House is an apartment-style house. We have 5 single-bedroom apartments and 5 double-bedroom apartments. On the double-bedroom apartments, they share the kitchen and the living room, and then each and every resident has their own bedroom and their own bathroom.
George came here, he was the first resident here, and he came here with an attitude that was so positive. He came here just knowing he wanted to do things on his own.
I get up at 7, I take my own shower, I put on my shoes, and get my cereal, get a cup and pour my own coffee.
What I work with on staff a lot is sometimes it's easier to do it yourself for them, but the important piece is that they can do it. So you have to have that patience to be able to wait rather than to want to rush through things.
Peggy is one of our star residents. When she came here, she would not even go out of the building. And now she's Miss Social Butterfly.
Hey, Judy. Hello. Could I please have a ride time for, let's see, Thursday?
Just as long as I just sign out and when I'm going to be back. I get to go down to the bank, you know, if I get a check from my SSI. I just get to go down the bank, cash it myself. I get to go down the store by myself, get my hair cut by myself. It's really, really nice.
One of the main deficits it left Scott was he's nonverbal. Scott communicates with others by finger spelling. Scott's quite a guy. He's got a good sense of humor, and he loves computers, and he has a little printing business, which is his whole life.
B-E-F before, and before my brain injury, I liked C-O computers. Before my brain injury, computers. I am a make C-O computer, G-E-N-E-R, computer generated S-T-A, stationery. I make computer generated stationery.
Getting back into the business of living, if you will, and being independent in doing that involves engaging in life, in all kinds of aspects of life. And the most basic to all of us is living in our own home, in our own space, particularly if you're an adult. So that, I think, is the cornerstone of what the supported living kind of model promotes for folks.
If there's one thing that surprised me with Warren House and McLaughlin House, it was the creation of a society and a group of friends who were all in the same boat together.
What tells me that supported living and the model that they have here is successful is that people are getting back on with their lives. They're reintegrating back into life with the things that they want to do, and that's probably the biggest measure of success. People are happy. They're here because they want to be here.
What encourages me is to see the people that are willing to come forward and help. We have 2 houses now. We're in the process of trying to obtain another one in Lexington, Massachusetts. But it's very expensive, and we need people to come forward.
What Lexington House is our first public-private project. 50% of the funds will come from private sources, 50% from government sources, and the population within will be private pay as well as Medicaid.
There's a need for additional facilities because there aren't many facilities out there that offer what supportive living offers. And it's going to get worse before it gets better. And maybe down the road, maybe there might be a cure for brain injury, but for now, there isn't. And what we try to do is provide affordable and appropriate housing so that people can be as independent as possible and have the dignity that they deserve.
This is a great place. It changed my whole life. I come from being one person to another.